Carlo Nero, who is going to show a film, say a few words and show a film. So yeah, we're going to, as a panel, we're going to get off in a moment and we're going to watch that film as well. So maybe we should do that first, actually.
All right. Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this evening's event. For those of you who know anything about this film, you might wonder why this film has been selected and included in this evening's event, given that the event is very much about the cuts and the crash and austerity and finding solutions for that. Well, although the film is very much dealing with the issues of ecocide, environmental destruction and wildlife conservation, you'll find that these issues are sort of inextricably linked to cuts and crashes and austerity measures in quite a profound way. It was very interesting just hearing Owen's extraordinary sort of review of history, the plethora of vital reforms that have occurred throughout history. Of course, I feel, and I believe many others feel, that one last vital reform is missing that somehow will help harmonize all that has preceded it, and that is a reform on land and a fiscal reform married to land reform. And that's fundamentally what this film deals with. So without further ado, please watch the film. I may speak a little bit after the film just on a couple of points raised. And of course, later on, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. We have Fred Harrison, who presents the film here. He's a noted author and economist. We have Peter Smith, the CEO of the Wildwood Trust, that Julie already mentioned. He's also part of the film. Polly Higgins, noted environmental campaigner fighting to create a law against ecocide. She's also in the film. And we have a farmer landowner in Scotland, who's benefited immensely from the very unjust laws associated with land ownership and the tax system. So anyway, please watch the film, enjoy, and we'll see you afterwards. Thank you.
I've raised millions for conservation, but it still wasn't saving enough wildlife. And I've realized it's the laws of land that are the problem.
Landowners should be part of the solution to the conservation issue, not the cause of the problem.
The United Nations brought out a report this year that said we are at the tipping point. We are now killing off species at such a fast rate that we are now at danger of complete and utter collapse of all ecosystems throughout the world.
We humans are killing species all over the world, and the United Nations warns us that that destruction, the extinction of other life forms, is actually undermining the basis of our human existence. I've come to Wildwood, a nature conservation trust in Kent in England, to talk to Peter Smith. He's devoted his life to trying to rescue those threatened species.
Fred! Hello, Peter. Oh, welcome to Wildwood.
We want to tell everyone about British wildlife, the story of British wildlife. So we've brought together a number of animals from our past and our present so other people can discover them. So we have just brought in some European bison, which are fantastic creatures, an extinct British species. And these are the biggest land mammal in Europe. And they're browsing animals. They live in the forests, and they're an important part of any forest ecosystem because bison can push down a tree here and there, and that creates a little woodland glade where rare butterflies and birds can live. These beautiful creatures are called conic ponies, and they're the last of the truly wild European horse. The ancestors of these creatures ran wild across all of Britain's woodlands and wetlands, and they were part of our ecosystem. And they were hunted to extinction 100 years ago. But a few animals had crossed with these conic ponies, and these are the genes that are left. And we are introducing these back to nature reserves across the southeast so they can once again run wild and free.
So, Peter, you're literally turning this into an educational establishment for children so that they can learn about nature. In fact, you're creating a walkway through the trees for them.
That's right. We've got a playground, and we want to allow children to walk through the trees and see the amazing relationships between things like ants and oak trees and all the other trees. They can get in there and be part of it. Hey, look, we've got some lynx just in front of us there. Amazing, aren't they?
The lynx were driven to extinction because people wanted the land and...
That's right. The lynx need 50 square miles at least to live, and that has to be their type of habitat. Once people started coming in and hunting all their prey, roe deer, and changing the land, farming the land, that changed how the lynx could live. Humans only needed to kill a few of these to wipe them out. They were a fragile species, ecologically speaking, lived very far apart, so it only took a little impact from man to wipe these out.
But you can't hope to put the lynx back into the wild other than in Wildwood, I take it.
Well, we can, and there's no problem. In fact, Scottish Wildlife Trust want lynx to be reintroduced because lynx do a wonderful thing. They will help spread out the population of deer. At the moment, we've got lots of deer that concentrate in areas, eating all the leaves, the little growth of new trees, so nothing can regrow properly. You need to have predators, prey, and all the trees and the grasses in harmony with each other, and that's what lynx bring, because they live in very low densities. It's easy. If we just kill a few, they'll go extinct because then they can't meet each other and breed.
So, why is it important for Wildwood and other nature reserves to help children to understand life in the wild?
We want wildlife to be something they can experience and understand. It's nothing to be scared of. You know, wildlife is not a lion that's dangerous. Wildlife is something that's all around us, and we can exist and coexist with wildlife, and it's something we should have back in our lives, not something to be separate. Wildwood's got teams of people who volunteers, so we serve a social function, helping people discover skills and feel part of the community. We were fed up of spending huge amounts of money and time and effort to manage nature reserves when beaver and wild horses and other wild grazing animals could do a far better job. And that's what we've built at Wildwood, a way of conserving nature that doesn't cost the taxpayer or private donors a lot of money. It's about people being able to see the wildlife like it was in a woodland 1,000 years ago, so they can chance upon a wolf, a wild boar, a lynx, and feel part of it.
Is there anything we can learn from nature that teaches us how to live in harmony with our ecosystems?
The beaver's a perfect animal for us to learn about nature. It creates balance and harmony. European beaver here are an essential part of Britain's waterways. Bringing beaver back to Britain is one of the most important things we can do.
Beavers will get rid of pollutants.
Nitrates, phosphates that farmers put on their field. They'll absorb floodwaters that would have flooded our cities. The beaver wetland's a giant sponge, sucks it all the water in, and then it saves our cities from flooding. We're faced with challenges because a beaver will occupy
A riverbank.
Now those landowners say, I want all of my profit that I'd had on my land, I want that from the government before we let beavers back.
So these wetlands are really important because we're seeing increasingly floods, rivers breaking their banks and causing havoc in towns.
In the past, the waters would flood out into fields as it goes down the river. These are our floodplains. And farmers wanting to farm the land along rivers have created flood defences, and the taxpayer has assisted in this process as well, to the tune of many tens of millions of pounds a year. This little chap here, he's the water vole. Because we use rivers as drainage channels, and they're not allowed to meander and create little oxbow lakes and have reed beds, these lovely creatures have virtually gone extinct. And the taxpayer did that. We fund the Environment Agency to spend a huge amount of money stopping the rivers working naturally. Conservation organisations then have to pay people to recreate those lost habitats. And we are spending millions of pounds a year, wildlife trusts, RSPB, in creating water vole habitats. And Wildwood here, as the country's expert breeders of water voles, are breeding them up and returning them to these new nature reserves.
The Common Agricultural Policy in Europe devotes 40% of the European Union budget to agriculture. Does that have a beneficial impact on the environment?
By subsidising intensive agriculture, we ripped out woodlands and beautiful natural grasslands, downlands. They were destroyed in droves since the 50s, and that was directly down to the subsidising, the false subsidising of crops. Common agricultural policy has been a disaster for British